Well, we have delayed it a little bit, but we are finally here. Everyone, welcome to the Newy Jets Football YouTube channel. What a game we had on Saturday night in the F3 Derby. Liam, your Mariners thought they had it in the bag, but for me and Matt, so good to get a point in Gosford. We'll get to that later, but to my two guests today, thank you everyone for joining. Firstly to you, Matt, how you going?
Mate, I'm going well. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to tonight. Yeah, that's about it, bro. How are you?
Yeah, good. Always good after a derby comeback. But to Liam, are you sort of feeling the same or a bit frustrated not to get the 3 points in the derby?
Little frustrated. When you're 2-0 up, you'd expect us to 2-0 up 50th minute. There's only 40 minutes left. You'd think we'd come home with the win, but it's a bit disappointing. But at the end of the day, it's a draw. Well hard fought comeback from the Jets, but yeah, it's not one to look back on, I reckon, for the Mariners.
Yeah, well, we've still got one more derby to go, so that'll be a good game as well in Newcastle come the end of the season. But let's get straight into the game. Before we get onto it, let's just look at the team list. It was quite similar for the Jets to the way they lined up in the previous week. Matt, were you confident heading into this game? Went down 2-0 early. Were you still, confident we could get a win, or was it more, let's hold out for a draw tonight?
Look, playing against the Mariners, especially the last 6 or 7 games, there's not been really been one game I've always thought, you know what, we're on here. In all honesty, and this is absolutely crazy, even when we conceded our second, I thought we were going to get something. The way we started our game, the way Rob set us up, the first 35 minutes until their first goal, I thought we played better than what we played in Perth. I thought it was probably the best start to us. Nathan Paul, first of all, I think he's an absolute great addition to the Mariners side. He's a great defender. Come up the highway from Sydney, and he did really well to get them up 1-0. Even when Ryan dropped that ball, I always thought we were going to get something. I think, Lockie really lifted us, but we were lucky to get something in the end. But I think on paper, I think it's what we deserved.
Yeah, and those impact players off the bench, we see it again, Cotter and Lockie. Cotter with an assist and Lockie getting on the score sheet. So plenty of options on the bench for the Jets now, which I think we lacked at the start of the year. We lacked that player to come on and get a goal for us when we were behind. But Liam, for you, we've already got a few questions in the chat from you. We've got your thoughts on Abdul Faisal, a new addition to your squad this season. What have you made of him so far?
He's only played 2 games for us so far, but already there's some real good signs.
Yep.
Love his body movement, his pace, getting in behind the defensive line, and he's willing to take on the defender, which we haven't really seen from many Mariners players so far this season. Besides Miko Docker, we haven't really seen players really going one-on-one with the defenders, but it's always good to have a young, youthful talent at the Mariners, which we're obviously known for producing young, youthful talents. Hopefully we can help him along with his journey and get him into Europe.
Yeah, sorry about the laughing. I've had some weird comments already come up. Ask Matt, is he ticklish? Matt, there's plenty of fans for both of you guys. Thank you for everyone for joining. Keep sending in your questions. But, geez, Matt and Liam, you're certainly taking over the comments at the moment. But to the game itself,
Harry, are you going to let me ask if I'm taking?
Yeah, go on.
I won't have massages purely because I am. There you go. No one. If I go well here and sponsorships want to send me massages, don't, because I'm really ticklish.
The game itself, guys. Mariners 2-0 up at the break. Jets come back in the second half. Matt, as a Jets fan, do you feel? You mentioned we dominated the first half and we had chances. I think Clayton Taylor had a couple of runs on goals. Are you, come the end of the day, disappointed that we weren't able to get 3 points? Or is it more like, okay, let's look at this. We're 2-0 down. We got back to 2-2. Are we happy with that? Or is it more we struggled to capitalize our chances? We could have got 3 points.
Look, I think anyone that walks away from a derby saying, okay, we got the draw, has a bit of a pessimistic mindset. Obviously, fantastic. We did. Come back from the 2-0 down, but look, there are individual pieces during the game where we could have scored 5 or 6 goals. And obviously, Mariners scoring 2 gets him in the lead. But I think if Wilmering had taken that chance when Taylor played the reverse ball, that free kick, I think that Grozos took that hit the side netting. There's just and that Taylor that 1-on-1. Honestly, we could have scored 5 or 6 goals, and you're not going to take every chance you get. Like Docker hit the post in the last minute, that could have absolutely wrapped things up, and we go down the other end.
Yep.
Ultimately, I think that was the one game where, on paper, we were the better team, and if we had taken our chances, we could have won the game. But at the end of the day, we didn't. So once again, happy to get the behind draw, but no, I'm not really stoked to get the draw.
Yeah, well, as we know, it's been a while since we last got a win against the Mariners. So I think when you're 2-0 down and they've dominated us in recent derbies, I think we can agree. I think Liam can agree as well with the fact that you guys have dominated us in recent derbies. Liam, for yourself, is it pure frustration? I know Mark Jackson mentioned in his press conference that the team struggled to see out that victory. But for you, are you more on the positive side? Look forward to the next game, or are you quite frustrated with the way your team failed to hold out the lead?
I wouldn't say frustration, but I wouldn't say happy either. I mean, when you're 2-0 up in a derby, like I said earlier, we should be winning that, especially when we're up in the 50th minute 2-0. I think Jets, they played amazing and they dominated us throughout the whole second half. And you can see where their comeback came from. But a positive we can take out is that we obviously saw some of our young players like Abadal, Fazal. I'm so bad at pronunciations, but Fazal, obviously we saw him. He had massive impact. Docker was playing good again. Nathan Paul, our young centre back, he was playing good. I think a negative we can take out from this game is that Trent Sainsbury and Brian Kautak, our two senior defenders at the back, I don't know what, but I've seen some negative comments about him passing the ball around right at the back, putting Dylan Cullen under pressure as the Nui were pressing pretty high. But yeah, I think that's the one negative. Maybe don't pass it around at the back and put pressure on Cullen like they did. But I think a positive is that it was only a draw and it wasn't a Nui win.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Parage Cullen. I don't know if you guys remember, but he actually caused the corner for the second goal. I think Mariners were playing around at the back. Ultimately, I think he just kicked it out. And then obviously Cotter goes and takes the corner. Mark Natter heads home. But is that do you believe in Parage Cullen, or do you think, he's a bit shaky as a goalkeeper?
I think with the ball at his feet, technically, I don't think he's currently at what he can be. I mean, this is his first professional season, though. He hasn't played a game for us until this season. Obviously, been playing in the NPL, but I think technically with his feet, he isn't 100% yet. But even in that Jets game, he's making some cracking saves. I think it might have been Mark Natter actually up the other end from where I was sitting, the Yellow Army up the other end. Mark Natter had a header, and Parage Cullen made an unbelievable diving save to deny it. But he does have that incredible Superman save in him, and he does make some good one-on-one saves. But again, with his feet, I think that's the only downside of his game.
Oh, you know what? While Harry's loading, I will say that obviously Adam Pavlicic started in goals for you guys, and Dylan, Dylan's done well to come up, and like when you're gonna lose Daddy Vukovic and you're gonna replace him with an NPL player, obviously it's gonna be a bit of a struggle. Apart from the Mariners playing off the back, I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I think he's gonna do a lot of good things for you guys if he stays around for a while. Being a bit wet behind the ears in his first season, I think playing out for the back is probably not best for Mariners. Obviously, I'm not Mark Jackson. Obviously, I don't see the training every day, but I'm a big believer in, look, take that goal kick, try and hit your flanks, try and pick out your players. But if someone's going to press you the way that Lockie Rose did, I just think you've got to go, especially in the last 5 minutes. Fuck having the, excuse my language, having the ball in your back line for the last 5 to get it up, get it away, and do your best.
Yeah, well, it was a bit frustrating just seeing us pass it around in that last 10, 15 minutes when really I reckon we could have challenged for that win. And we saw when we actually had a bit of the ball, we actually did something with it. We scored the 2 goals. Docker hit the post. I think it might have been Frazal who also had a one-on-one miss. Well, he was not one-on-one to keeper, but the angle's pretty tight, but he still could have squared it. There were chances that went begging when we actually did like what you said, just boot the ball long and play down the flanks.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of the comments, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. let's firstly go to, do you support anyone in the NPL? Yes, that's a Lambton Jaffers. Maradona 10 in the chat says, but we shouldn't be happy with anything other than 3 points. We can't keep saying, yeah, should have been 2-0 up, but we're not against ordinary sides. I wouldn't say Mariners an ordinary side, but look, I think you know as well, Matt, we've been ahead 2-0 against, no, Perth was 1-0, Sydney was 2-0, obviously, and throwing that game away, but there's that. There's another one here. Which teammate would you go on a night out with? Depends which side of the party you're going there. And then, Harry, would you rather win a grand final or win every single F3 forever?
It's a great question.
Oh, yeah. Matt, you go first.
We're focusing on that question. Which are we the night out? What are we?
Would you rather win a grand final?
I don't know if it's pessimistic, but I think I'd rather for the rest of my life win every derby.
That would be
Yeah, and I think both all three of us would rather win every derby, because that's, if we live for another 80 years, touch wood, actually, of 70 years, it's 210 derby wins. Yeah, I'd probably take that.
Well, let's take a listen to what Rob Stanton had to say in my press conference that I spoke to him about on Saturday night. Let's give that. What message do you have to the people of Newcastle that did travel and support the team today?
Well, I saw a fair bit of our fans over on the side there, which is really good to see. So, you know, they're obviously passionate about the club, and I think today we showed a tremendous, you know, character that to come from behind. And also, I think, you know, we've got a strong heartbeat. You know, we're in a period now where new owners have come in. There's a lot of work still to be done in terms of, you know, stabilising the club, minimising debt and things like that. It's not just a big spend. It's about building the club from the bottom up, not from the top down. And today just shows things like character, commitment, and all those things that will make that a strong base in the future.
Well, with no disrespect to you guys, Liam, the Newcastle away support was incredible, as well as your support early on in the game. When you guys were 2-0 ahead, your fans were buzzing, and it's good to see the Yellow Army continually start to build, especially in home derbies. But Matt, for us as a Newcastle fan, the away turnout was incredible. Do you believe this is a huge step in terms of what's to come for the rest of the season? But I think we're all aware that Saturday night was huge for the Newcastle away crowd.
Are we talking in terms of crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, sorry to be pessimist. There's so many things I wish that were different, and having a united bay isn't going to mean we're going to be next level. Wish it was different. But look, it might give a bit of a lift. But I think if the Jets could put 3 or 4 wins together on the trot, I promise you half our bay would be packed. And obviously, to say half a bay isn't great, but when you've gone through what the Jets have gone through the last 4 or 5 years, look, I take 4 full rows, and it's not great. I wish it was different again, but we need to start stringing the wins together consistently to have that entertainment value on and off the pitch. Not gonna lie.
Yep, and those questions are still coming in the comments. One for you, Matt. Why no Wellersol? Well, we speak about the options that we have on the bench. Do you think it's going to be hard for like the Matty Scarcellas, the Wellersols to now be introduced to a game when you're consistently bringing on Lockie Rose and Cotter? And if Lockie Rose does start, you know, you've got Ben Gibson to come on, for example. Is it tricky for these Wellersol? We saw Nathan Grimaldi leave early in the week, struggling for game time as well. But do you think it's going to be tough for Wellersol to break into the side, or you still believe in him?
First of all, I don't not believe in him at all. I think he's got some exceptional talent. I think when Wellersol came over, he kind of expected that these big Australian defenders, such as Sainsbury and Caltac, weren't going to kick him. And if he did get kicked, he'd get the foul. These referees aren't necessarily buying the Daniel Pena-esque, hitting the ground straight away. And I think Wellersol has shown individual glimpses of talent, but he needs to just continue playing his game. And when he does get game time, just head down, ass up, and do your best. But look, at the moment, I find it very difficult to believe he's going to get back into the consistent game time. Look, Charles Monbois hasn't necessarily done anything for me. Like, everyone likes his work ethic. Great, good. I haven't seen that exceptional talent that we saw at MacArthur. I think Ben Gibson's going to be very, very harsh to lose his starting spot. But the way Lockie Rose is playing, it's just fantastic. And like he chases, he pumps up the crowd. He's just a quiet achiever, which he just wanted a striker. So
the thing is, like, do you feel Rose is better off the bench, or is like he better from the start? That's my sort of view. Like, is he a player that you can come on and bring an impact, or do you think he'll provide the same energy from the start?
The only problem is Lockie Rose wouldn't have signed a contract with the Jets if he was going to be told, look, you're going to be starting, you're going to be on the bench. I love Lockie off the bench. What he's provided against Brisbane and against the Mariners so far, I think he scored 4 goals, maybe in like the 6 games he's played for us. He wouldn't want to be coming off the bench, but he's kind of like a Brendan Sanalab at the moment. Like his game plan or gameplay off the bench is just fantastic. So at the moment, I'd still be starting Benny, and because Ben can provide that muscle up top, and Lockie provides the running at the tied defenders at the end. So obviously, I think Lockie would want different according to me. That's why I don't coach. But that's what I will do.
Liam, we'll head back to you. It feels like a while since I've been to you. I've got a question for you. Do you plan on overtaking Ghost Watch Football one day? And then also for the both of us, before we get back to the game, I feel like this is sort of a good one to start the midway section of this podcast. Can you ask both of them pineapple on pizza or nah? Most controversial question of the 21st century. Liam, pineapple on pizza?
Yep, have to. Yep. Got to add the extra flavour.
Matt?
I mean, look, pineapples and palm trees, Central Coast, I get that. Very Hawaiian-esque. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. All right. Absolutely. Liam, to you, you've got Perth away this weekend. What are you thinking? Are you thinking of making any changes? Because, you know, in that game on the weekend, you're going to be frustrated, but Mark Jackson mentioned it's about turning it around. We have to get past this sort of section of where we are disappointed from the derby to lead 2-0, but it's important that they don't drop their heads because we are approaching the back end of the season and every team's fighting for the top 6. So what are you expecting from the Mariners against Perth?
Obviously, I'm expecting us to hopefully smash them, considering we are against Perth, but they're obviously famous last words. Watch us get beat now. But I'm expecting the same squad. I really like it. I like Eames in the midfield. I like Steele also. He's been good. But Hayne Eames has been unbelievable. He's been controlling the game, been picking the pass. Obviously, he put Nathan Paul through against West United, who ended up giving the assist for Edmondson. And that was a beautiful pass from Hayne Eames into that. That was a beautiful pass from Eames to Nathan Paul, which obviously led to our second goal against Western United. Trent Sainsbury, for me, he's been unbelievable. But I think Trent is Brian Cowtack. I think we need to change up passing in the back. As I spoke on earlier, Perth will press us, especially at home. They'll have the crowd behind them. They got 11,000 last week against Melbourne Victory, and you could see that crowd pushing them on. And I think with the crowd behind them, I don't think it would be right for us to be playing at the back, as they will be wanting to make a stance against a Mariners team that's not exactly 100%. And they did hold us to a 0-0 draw at home, so I think that they will be able to replicate that again if we play how we did in that back half of the game against Jets.
Liam, obviously Trent Sainsbury come back, been great for Australia. Had his stint abroad. Obviously, he got injured and has only been back since like mid-December or something. I haven't been that stoked with not his effort, but I think the performance we thought we'd get from Trent Sainsbury. I thought it was a bit disappointing on Saturday night. How have you felt he's been since he's come back?
I do have to agree with you there. Like, obviously, his history and what he's done is amazing, but I think he's come back. I think he's been a little underwhelming. Whether or not that's because he's coming off an injury, but there was a couple times against the Jets where he was beaten with pace, he was beaten with skill, and I think that when with the ball at his feet, he has been finding the right passes. Like in Asia, some of those like passes over the top have been like pinpoint. Just we haven't been able to obviously take the opportunity, but I think he is obviously now starting to get to, like on that pointy end of your career. I think I think he's been a bit underwhelming, but obviously the injury's been a massive setback for him. Obviously, he didn't get to restart his career at the Mariners the way he wanted to. But I think there will be a time, whether it's next year or the year after, where we'll slowly see him phased out of our squad.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the live chat. Once again, thank you everyone for joining in. I'll start with you, Liam. What Jets and Mariners players do you see moving overseas at season's end? Liam, if you were to pick one Mariners player that you'd think deserves a spot overseas, who is it for you?
Mikael Docker. He's been absolute class for us last couple of years. He was recently voted into our 20 all-time Mariners squad.
Yeah.
To be honest, I reckon this might be a bit of a controversial take here, but I reckon he's good enough to play in the championship. That's obviously coming from a Mariners fan. That could be a bit biased, but on his day, he's good enough to play in the championship, and I think we will see him overseas next year, and we'll cash in from him as obviously Richard Peel left, and at the moment the Mariners owners are up in the air a bit at the moment. So I think he will be one of our first to go. An overseas club will sign him for a big bit of cash.
I think as well, you're looking at overseas moves at the minute. I mean, look at the amount of players Portsmouth are signing for the A-League. I mean, you talk about championship. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to have a go at him there, because you look Hayden Matthews, Cassini Yengi, about 5 Aussies. I think Jacob Farrell as well from the Mariners is over there.
Over there.
Yeah. Matt, who for you do you think from the Jets deserves to move overseas?
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, at the moment, probably no one. I know that's a really, really tough, harsh response.
Yeah.
If you were this time last year, you'd say Clayton Taylor's pretty much there. I think Lucky Bayless has stepped up last couple of weeks. Been that really look. He's been told he has to play a few positions, and he's once again head down, ass up. And I think he's definitely going to be on that move. For me, and this isn't bias. The way the Mariners took Lucas Moragas off our hands to play that 3-year contract, I'm pretty sure their ambition would have been to get him in that 1 year, get him in the form of him, and get 2 years on his contract overseas. So I hope that he can come back from injury and get that time abroad. Because I think that's what the Mariners would have been planning for him at the end of the season, the end of the season as well. With Docker, when you say championship, if you get him in the front, like the kind of right wing, left wing, I do agree with you. I don't think he would survive in the championship playing that left and right back, that flank, because I think just the big boys of the championship would absolutely eat him for breakfast. But I think he's skillful and talented enough to play that like left or right wing, getting forward for sure.
100% agree.
Yep. And Matt, just one for you here quickly before we get back to the game. Do you reckon you'll beat Adelaide, and are you doing the away game? We've got a doubleheader this week, but then the following week we are at Adelaide away, which will be a tricky game. Sorry.
Look, on paper, do I think we'll beat Adelaide? No. I don't think Adelaide are that good, and obviously I think they're either top of the table or second. And first of all, absolutely stoked for Archie that he's ripping up the league, because obviously as a Novocastrian, we're very, very happy for him. I don't think Adelaide are that good. I've been at an Adelaide game 2 years ago when Josh Satirio scored in a 1-0 win, and we were paying us $5 or $6 to win. So I'm not going to say I'm confident we'll beat them, but if we walk out of there and grab the win, I wouldn't be surprised. Am I doing the game? Yes, I am.
Every game. If you don't know by now, every game. Luke Sports Gaming in the chat. Welcome, Luke. Alex is here. What's up, Newy Jets? Thank you for joining. But guys, let's get back to the F3 derby, because we've sort of gone a bit off topic as of late. The girls obviously beforehand going down 5-1, which would have been good for you, Liam, to celebrate with that piece of trophy in the women's. But I want to talk about the actual atmosphere itself, like the crowd, like the whole atmosphere for the F3 derby. For you both, where does the F3 derby rank in terms of derbies in this league? Because a lot of people say Sydney derby, victory against Melbourne derby, Sydney derby, and then victory versus Sydney comes next in the Big Blue. But do you believe the F3 derby is ahead of the original rivalry in the Big Blue?
I reckon it's 100% ahead of the Big Blue. I think the original rivalry can be 50-50, as we did see the crowd in the away fans from Melbourne Victory and Adelaide. That's just gone by. That was atmosphere was amazing at Cooper Stadium. And credit to the Victory fans for travelling. I think on its day, the F3 Derby can deliver to the standard of original rivalry. But personally, I think go Sydney Derby, Melbourne Derby, original rivalry, then the F3 Derby.
Oh, yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky because I wanted to have this discussion with you guys because we saw the atmosphere on Saturday night. I thought it was amazing. Like, you've got two teams who are struggling to make the top six, which is obviously Jets and Mariners. And I thought both teams really showed up. And we saw Rob in the press conference say this was a great game for the neutral. But Matt, where does the F3 Derby rank for you? Is it ahead of those other derbies? Is it ahead of maybe one of the Sydney or Melbourne? Where do you rank it at the moment?
The funny thing is, I'm not going to give you an answer because I'm all about promoting the league and how good the league can be.
Yeah.
Pretend you're not a fan of each club, both of you. Pretend you're watching that with your mates on Saturday night. You would have been absolutely on the edge of your seat as a neutral, saying what a bloody good game this is. And the great thing about the A-League is it doesn't necessarily have to be the derbies or the rivalry. Sometimes you get some absolute cracking games that keep you on the edge of your seat. I've got a bias about how much I rate the rivalry, and like, mate, 2 or 3 years ago, I remember when it was like 18 wins apiece and 18 draws apiece. Like, obviously, the Mariners have been on top of us for the last two and a bit years. The great thing about this league is how good every matchup can be. So each derby and rivalry has their own entertaining value. But I think Saturday night reminded us how good our rivalry can be. So, look, at the end of the day, I enjoy the A-League. I enjoy the rivalries in the derby. And, mate, when they all put on a show, they're as good as each other.
Yeah. And I think you're 100% spot on. Like, we've had some really entertaining games this season. I think Western United have dished up a few. Adelaide at home as well. They've had a couple of really entertaining draws. And I think this league this season has produced more high-quality, entertaining games. And like you mentioned, if you're a neutral on Saturday night, you know, even in the last 10 minutes, that was end-to-end. Like, Mariners would go forward, the Jets win the ball, then it's just back end to end. And as a Jets fan, we didn't know who was actually going to come out on top, but I think a draw was a fair result. But I agree with you, that was very entertaining on Saturday night. But for you, Matt, Alex asked, do you think Newcastle should make any new signings, any more additions to the squad?
Look, we've made two. I think, look, the problem with the A-League is, obviously, Liam, you can understand, like, it's you piss money away when you make a signing, even if they're the greatest signing in the world. Like, to be an A-League owner, you've got to be dedicated and be prepared to lose money. So, look, would I like us to make some signings? Yeah, I would. But at the end of the day, does Morris or Robbie, not the coach, the other owner, Robbie, want to lose another $50,000 or $60,000? No, we could have signed Lockie Wales. I heard we were in the go for Maxi Burgess, and obviously it wasn't the right for us. But I would like to make maybe one more defender signing. I think I was pretty disappointed to lose Nathan Grimaldi, and whether it was because he wanted game time or not, I haven't really agreed with the Costa Grozos playing centre back. I think Costa's an absolute weapon, but I haven't really. I think he's looked a little bit how you're going. Playing in the final, hell, we've lost him. That's all right. We'll talk to ourselves. Yeah, no. Look, I think losing Nathan Grimaldi's been a bit is a bit of a tough loss for us. So, yeah, Liam, do you think there's any more signings to be made? Obviously, Graham Cole could be going to MacArthur. Would have been nice if we could come back to you guys.
For the Mariners, I think we do need to improve our strikers. I mean, again, like you said, the money in the A-League is just not there. And we obviously are slowly creeping back to being in financial issues again as Richard Piola's left the club and Mike Charlesworth's license is up at the end of the year. So whether or not the APL take back the club, which obviously means we'll be cut even more funding. But I personally think we need a new striker. Edmondson is good. He's really good playing that false nine position, but I just don't think he's got that finishing touch in him. Cole's good at pressing off the ball, but again, I don't think they just had that finishing touch that we had with, like, when we had Jason Cummings. Probably 70% of the shots we've had this year go in if that's Jason Cummings.
To be fair, I think it's tricky for the Mariners to replace someone like Jason Cummings. And I saw on the weekend Ryan Ebsenson, he didn't really have that sort of spark that he had in previous seasons. So it's a tricky one for the Mariners in attack. Do you got anything?
What Liam's saying about Charlesworth's license being up and the Mariners having financial problems, obviously being a derby, like I've met some wonderful people from Mariners fans, even the club itself. When the derby's on, hate them, hope they lose 10-0, hope they lose 8-2 again. But to be in that financial situation and possibly have your owner giving back the license again, it's a terrible feeling. And like Harry, as a Jets fan, we've had 2 or 3 times where we've thought this could legit be the end of our club, and it's a terrible, terrible feeling. So for any Mariners fans who are watching, like I wish you well and I wish your club well, and hopefully they can find a sustainable owner that can put them back into that top 6, top 4 position. But yeah, look, it's not a great feeling to not know your club's future, because the A-League never guarantees anything unless you're a City fan, a Victory fan, or a Sydney fan. And I wish there was a bit more sustainability for all the other, I guess, 10 clubs.
Well, that question in the chat from Slick Rick just explains it perfectly. Matt, would you buy the Jets?
Funny question. Everyone knows I love a bit of a punt. I never started buying lottery tickets until last year, when I heard the Jets could be losing their license and could be gone forever. I started buying $100 worth of lottery tickets a week just in case we won the 40 million. The most I won from one ticket was $70. So if someone could lead me into going back into Bitcoin about 15 years ago, I would buy the Jets. I'd donate a lot of money to the A-League, but probably not sustainable, my friend. But if I ever come across a couple $100 million, I will buy the Jets.
And just for you, Alex, you say, do you think Lockie Rose should get more playing time? We touched on that earlier. It's an interesting situation between him and Gibson. But guys, as we wrap this up, because as you know, the technical issues are coming in. But Liam, I want to ask you first, for a Mariners point of view, your honest opinion. Can you make the top 6 as we, sort of get towards the end of this A-League season?
This is hard because we've obviously seen some glimpses of the Mariners in games where we don't look like the team last year, but we look like we're slowly getting back there. Midway during the West United game, it looked like we're slowly getting back there. When we're 2-0 up against the Jets, we slowly look like we're getting there. But like it's a bit like Man United right now in England. We get a good result, then next game we go and lose again. Or get a bad result. That's what it's been like for the Mariners this year a bit. We've had, I think, 8 draws, only 4 wins and 4 losses. So we're getting a lot more draws. But if we keep drawing, I don't think that'll be enough at the end of the day. So a couple more wins, and I think we'll be right in the conversation. And I reckon we will just creep into the 6 if we get a good run towards the end.
Yeah, and I think it would be really weird, obviously, to see the Mariners not make it following their success in the last couple of years. But like you mentioned, their start to the year hasn't been great, but we still have another half of A-League football. Matt, for you, are you sort of in the same boat as Liam? A bit tricky, but we'll see how things play out.
Look, if I say, yeah, the Jets are going to make the finals, I promise you the whole of Twitter would clip it up and smash me for it. The one thing I will say about every club in the league except Brisbane, if any of those 12 clubs strings 3 wins in a row together, they are looking for the finals. And it's not that hard to do, unless you're the Jets. But no, look, I'll tell you what, I still believe Perth Glory can make the finals. And people might laugh at me for that, but they're a good team. It's just a shame that they don't have that confidence anymore. So do I believe the Jets will make the finals? Probably not. Would I love them to prove me wrong? Absolutely. So yeah, put those 3 wins together, and I think there's a chance.
Yeah.
Harry, what about you, my friend? Let's put you in the hot seat.
Yeah, I think Newcastle Jets fan news sums it up here. If we make finals, it would be a miracle. But like you mentioned, Matt, and I think my dad's the same. He always tells me if a team can string 3 or 4 wins, you don't know what it can do on the ladder. Like, it can really bolster you up the ladder. Like, you can go like that straight away. So I think it's in key that we don't, like Liam said, the Mariners are struggling to consistently win. They're just 1 win, 1 draw, 1 win, 1 loss. Like, you've got to string consistent wins on the board, and I think that's where we've struggled this year. So I think it's all down to consistency. If we can string the wins together, then we could make a push for the 6, because, like you mentioned, we dominated that game on Saturday night and had great control of it, just weren't able to capitalise in front of goal. But before I go, I'm going to get to both of your questions that are in the live chat. Quickly, Liam, what's your score predictions for Friday's night's game?
I always love a 2-2 draw. I actually predicted that the last two games in a row for Mariners, but I think we'll get the win against Perth. I think we'll get up convincingly 3-0. I mean, Newcastle went to Perth, they got up 4-0. Or was it 3-0? I can't quite remember. But
4-0, yeah.
4-0, yeah. But if Newcastle can do that, I reckon we'll get up 3-0, 3 or 4-0. And I think right now the Mariners are slowly each game, like I said earlier, there's glimpses in games where we're starting to look good and like the team from last year. And I reckon, and it's slowly getting to more and more of the game. We're starting to look like that team from last year. I think we can pick apart Perth, get in behind them, get Docker. I'll put it out here. Docker will get a brace.
Liam, obviously you were talking about Edmondson starting up top. That young striker that came on in the second half, you got him, Qual, and Edmondson. Who would you start up top against Perth?
Is that Delima?
I actually didn't know. I don't know his name, to be honest. I'm
yeah, Delima came on in the second half.
Yeah, who would you start up top?
Well, that's tough. I think Delima, in the amount of time he's played, he showed a lot more potential than what Qual and Edmondson has gone for this year. But what Qual does off the ball is something that not many other strikers do in the A-League. His press is unbelievable. He's constantly there. He's your typical poacher striker. But I think Delima creates a lot more. I think he's got the I just think he's got the ability to come short, get in behind, and he's obviously got a good finish on him. And I reckon Delima should personally start ahead of Qual and Edmondson, but that will be his only third game for the Mariners, third or fourth game for the Mariners. But I think against Perth's the perfect team to experiment in.
And Matt, just for you before you do go, Slick Rick has been asking the question all night. I think it was something along the lines of a night out with a Jets player, if I believe.
Mate, first of all, I'm one of those guys that I'm happy to go to bed at 9 o'clock, so a night out's a bit foreign for me. Look, I know we're an absolute legend, and I've heard some stories. Ryan Scotty's on a night out. Obviously, respectfully, nothing too on the piss, but no, I've heard Ryan Scott's an absolute larrikin, and believe it or not, his dad's an even bigger legend. I think Ryan Scott would be that guy.
Yeah, sweet. And just before we do go, I do want to give a shout out, and this is no aim to you at all, Matt, because obviously we are the two youngest here, me and Liam, and I just want to include a comment that I've got here in the live chat from Maradona10, who says, "Hey Liam, you're doing really well in your trade. Keep it up." So thank you to Liam for coming on, and a massive thank you to Matt for coming on and sharing our thoughts about the F3 derby. I'm sorry about the lagging earlier. We'll fix that. But guys, thank you very much for coming on.
No, man.
Thank you, Harry.
And we'll see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed, and make sure you subscribe as well. Thank you.